How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 2.
Hello there. Welcome. It's Eric Erickson here. The phone number, 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program. Y'all, I may have a problem. I have enjoyed the last 2 days hanging out with my son. So I think this is the way it is in most families. Like my son and my wife have this relationship. My daughter and I have this relationship, and my daughter likes to travel with me. My son's very much more a homebody, and we've done this trip to DC, and it was fun. We had a lot of fun. We were thoroughly exhausted. We were in bed like 9:30 last night. Several of the things he wanted to do, he's like, I'm too tired to do them. There's this place in Washington. If you're ever in Washington, D.C., it's a place the locals know about and the tourists don't. And it's called Captain Cookie and the Milkman. And they make homemade cookies and homemade ice cream and put them together. And they make these ice cream sandwiches. It's open until midnight. I think it's actually a chain, but I've never heard of it outside of there. My kids both love to go to Captain Cookie and the Milkman. And he wanted to go last night. He's like, nope, I think I'm going to bed. And it's like 9 o'clock, and he was in bed. I still had work to do. We had a ton of fun. But this is my problem is all I can think about the whole time I'm there is what am I going to talk about when I'm back on radio? What am I going to talk about? I need to be on radio. Something's happening. I need to be on radio. And occasionally, you have to step aside and spend time with your family and realize you're not the indispensable person. But at the same time, oh my gosh, I've had so much I wanted to talk about. And now finally I'm back to be able to talk about it. And I thank my guest hosts for them making it possible for me to do this. But I'm glad to be back because we need to talk about what happened in Texas while I was gone. Super Tuesday was Tuesday. Now, I should tell you, my friend Nikki Haley, and she's a personal friend. There are lots of, people in politics and in the media, they have this habit of saying, oh, so-and-so's a friend of mine because I met them one time. Nikki Haley actually has been a long-time friend of mine. When I was writing at redstate.com and Sarah Palin endorsed her in her run in 2010, she had come from behind victory. I got invited over to introduce them on stage in South Carolina. She's been a friend ever since. And she ran a better campaign than Ron DeSantis ran for president. That's a true statement, though the DeSantis people get mad when you say it. But the fact of the matter is she's a old school Republican candidate, and Republicans are not in the mood for an old school Republican candidate. They wanted Trump. They didn't want a Trump-like candidate, so they rejected DeSantis, and they did not want a non-Trump candidate, so they rejected Haley. They want Trump, and they've got Trump, and she is now dropped out. I don't know what her future holds. I wish her well. This was just not a year for her. This was not a fit for her. I think it's ironic that she's actually one of the most conservative candidates who ran for president outside of DeSantis. She's actually to the right of Trump on a variety of issues, and yet she's considered to be more to the left. It's a weird, crazy world out there. So she's out. Donald Trump has won. He does not quite have the delegates, but next week, Georgia has its primary next week. That'll push Trump across the 50% threshold, and he will officially be the nominee. And the GOP now is not going to wait until the convention. They're going to spend money on him ASAP, which is good. He needs the help. He's being bled dry by lawsuits. While that was happening in Texas was having its primaries. Now, I've got to set the stage for you. For those of you who are not in Texas, you do need to understand the dynamics in Texas. Ken Paxton is the attorney general in Texas. He is under investigation by the FBI. were allegations of corruption, and the House of Representatives in Texas impeached him. Paxton has a lot of money, a big war chest, and went to war with them, and the state Senate refused to convict him. And so Paxton decided to run primaries against as many Republicans in the state House as he could to get revenge. At the same time, the state House, led by a guy named Dean Phelan, who is a moderate Republican, very moderate Republican. Phelan relies on the support of the moderates and the Democrats to stay in power. Dade, not Dean, Dade Phelan. He has relied on the Democrats to keep himself in power. 48-year-old, very, very moderate, Beaumont, Texas. And Phelan and the Democrats in Texas and a handful of the moderate Republicans killed school choice. Greg Abbott, the governor, kept bringing it back, and they killed it. So Abbott promised primaries against all the Republicans who killed school choice. So you had Ken Paxton running primaries against the Republicans who impeached him in the House, and Greg Abbott running primaries against the Republicans who blocked school choice. Now, ironically, there was overlap there. Well, there shouldn't be ironic. It's liberal Republicans to a degree. Abbott did a better job beating than Ken Paxton did. Most of the people Abbott challenged in primaries lost. My buddy Chip Roy, congressman from Texas, he backed several people, and they were quite successful. Chip Roy had a very good night in Texas. Dade Phelan, the Speaker of the House in Texas, has had to go into a runoff. A repudiation of him for many things, including trying to kill school choice. It is a good thing. Republicans in Texas who voted against school choice are on the run. Most of them were defeated. Several of them are now in runoffs. Very few of them got by. School choice is the right thing to do. And in fact, I think it is worth noting that in the state of Georgia, they have not yet brought school choice to a vote. And qualifying is upon us in the state of Georgia. And it seems very likely that they are holding off a vote on school choice in Georgia until after qualifying, so the people who vote against it can't be held accountable by the voters. They need to reconsider this. In Georgia, they need to put school choice up to a vote as quickly as possible. They need school choice in Georgia. And I want you to pay attention to this. This is very important. Everywhere around the country, Republicans have opposed school choice. They're getting beaten in Republican primaries because Republican voters themselves are the ones who want school choice. You know the irony here? Not to talk down the Georgia school choice legislation, but in Texas, the Texas school choice bill is pretty significant. The Texas school choice legislation will benefit a lot of kids across Texas. The legislation in Georgia is actually de minimis. It will benefit hardly anybody. It's a good first step, but it will only primarily benefit kids in urban schools in the Atlanta area. Kids out in Vidalia, kids down in Valdosta, kids in Macon, around the state of Georgia, they're not going to benefit. They're not going to see any benefit from the school choice legislation. What's so interesting is it is rural South Georgia Republicans who are killing the legislation, and it won't even impact their counties. And it's kind of a half measure. They should go for more, but they're not going to. And yet they won't pass it. The moral of the story coming out of Texas is conservatives want real reform. Conservatives want school choice, and conservatives are willing to beat up other Republicans and cost them primaries if they don't get it. And we need more of this, please. We need more challenges to Republicans in primaries if they're going to block common sense legislation like school choice. And in Texas, Greg Abbott's come up big. And ironically, by the way, you should know that Greg Abbott going so hard for school choice has put him on the Trump radar as a possible vice presidential pick. That, I think, is notable. Now, we had a caller who was asking about Tim Scott. Tim Scott seems to be one of the very top considerations for Donald Trump for vice president. Greg Abbott has gotten on the list because of these primaries in Texas. Now, you should also know that, what's his name? Allen, the Democrat, is now going to run against Ted Cruz in the Senate there. Ted Cruz is going to have a hard race because Ted Cruz does not come across as likable to a number of people. I like Ted personally, but Ted's going to need to be on his A game for this campaign. Colin Allred is his name. He's a former NFL player. He's a progressive Democrat who's going to give Ted Cruz a run for his money in a place like Texas. Now, this is not going to be a Beto O'Rourke situation. Allred is actually a better candidate than Beto O'Rourke ever was, but he's still not going to win. As long as the Democrats keep spreading this fantasy that Texas is going to turn blue, I kind of like it because it takes their eye off the ball. It lets them spend money in Texas that is not going to be spent in Arizona. It's not going to be spent in Pennsylvania. It's not going to be spent in Montana. It's not going to be spent in Ohio. We got a great crop of candidates around the country running for the Senate. I will tell you, I did speak to Mitch McConnell on Monday. Our conversation was private. We have not seen eye to eye in the past on many issues, but we had a frank, good conversation. I enjoyed meeting him. He is very enthusiastic about the chances of the GOP picking up the Senate. He's not going to be leader anymore, but he wants the Senate. He knows where the GOP can stop if Biden's reelected and what they can get done if Trump's elected. The GOP does have a very good chance of taking the Senate. It may only be by 1 or 2 seats, but that's all they need. That's all they need. Kyrsten Sinema has dropped out. Kyrsten Sinema is no longer running for the Senate. Now, anyone who's paid attention to politics has known Kyrsten Sinema was going to drop out because she hasn't been collecting signatures. She was going to run as an independent. She needed to start collecting signatures in January. She hasn't. It's now March. The deadline is approaching. She will be precluded from running for the Senate as an independent. What's so notable here is the Democrats are chasing Kyrsten Sinema out of their party because she refused to kill the filibuster. That's the notable thing here. The media conversation is always biased towards the Democrats anyway because the media and the Democrats are in the same bubble. But what's really, really notable is that Kyrsten Sinema is a Democrat who was a member of Code Pink, who is not radical enough for the Democrats. Yeah, everybody talks about the radicalization of the Republican Party. They literally just chased this woman out of the Democratic Party because she voted to preserve the filibuster. She's a centrist Democrat, and the Democrats don't want a centrist. They want a rabid progressive. It tells you everything you need to know about where the Democratic Party is, and it's very, very telling in my mind that the media has not made a big deal about this because the media is singularly focused on the supposed radicalization of the Republican Party. The radicalization of the Democratic Party, though, is probably going to be the thing that costs the Democrats the election. And I want to spend some time on that at the bottom of the hour. I'll take your phone calls as well, 877-973-7425. It is nationwide. Eric Erickson here. Glad to be back behind the microphone with you. Greetings. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. Yes, you can call in and be a part of the program, and I want to take Tom's phone call right now. Tom, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing good, sir. How are you?
Good. What's going on?
Well, a quick question. On this immigration stuff, I'm wondering why talk radio and Fox News and people don't get this because it's so obvious. The Democrats are driving people out of all the cities with the crime problems or anything else. All those people are moving to red states, red cities, and they take their stupid voting decisions with them. So they come to Georgia and they destroy Georgia and make it more like New York, which is dumb. And then at the same time, while they're losing population in those states, they also lose representation. So by bringing in all these illegal immigrants, they are, in fact, building the states back up through the census to get the representation they need in the House of Representatives. And I just, so that they're diluting the red states and then refilling the blue states with illegals. And unfortunately, Greg Abbott is kind of helping them do that by shipping all these people to the blue states. although he is highlighting the issue.
Well, and there's that report that that Joe Biden actually flew in several 100,000 under the radar and sent them to blue states as well. Tom, so I'm not a huge conspiracy theorist. If you listen to the show, but this is the one that I bought into, and I've talked about it several times. For those of you who don't know what Tom's talking about, under the Constitution, the census is how you determine the number of seats in the House of Representatives per state. And the census is based on total population, not total citizens. So if you flood illegal aliens into a blue part of the country, they get counted for purposes of the census. Therefore, their numbers determine the number of seats each state gets in the House of Representatives. So if you're a blue state like New York, you welcome in all the illegal immigrants to replace all the citizens who fled the state, and they get counted for purposes of representation in the House of Representatives. And you can game the system by bringing in these illegal aliens. I am totally bought into this. Totally bought into this. It is not per se the great replacement theory, but it's kind of like that. They're not just replacing Americans at work and American citizenship and want to give it to them. They want them there for the numbers for the census tract. They want them there for the census. They need to build up their numbers, get them established so that in 2030, when the census comes around and they're counting people, they can say, well, we got all this massive number of illegal aliens. Now, the Republicans, you will recall, one of the things Trump wanted to do was change this and have it focus on citizenship. And he lost the Supreme Court case, not because they said he couldn't do it, but because he did it the wrong way. And when he comes back, he's going to have time to do it the right way. I'm telling you guys, this is my conspiracy theory. Those numbers count for the census, and with the census, then it shapes representation in the House of Representatives. So just keep that in mind. Now, I got to move on because there's so much more out there that we got to talk about today. Right now, though, I want to tell you, a little change can mean a lot, especially in the lives of in-need, at-risk veterans and their families. There's the simple idea behind Old Glory Bank's charitable roundup feature. If you sign up for it, every purchase you make with your Old Glory Bank Freedom Spending debit card is rounded up to the nearest dollar with 100%. Y'all, 100%, no administrative fees here. 100% of the money goes to the charity of your choice, either Code of Vets or Folds of Honor. There are more than 400,000 homeless veterans every night in this country. Every 70 minutes, a veteran commits suicide. In the past year alone, cases of PTSD have increased by 50%. These men and women put their lives on the line so we can all enjoy the benefits of freedom and liberty. If you help, it helps a lot. Bring hope to the lives of veterans and their families. Open a Freedom Spending account today at a Pro America online bank, oldglorybank.com. It's my bank. I have an account with them. You go to oldglorybank.com, you sign up. It takes less than 8 minutes. You sign up for the charitable roundup, and all your purchases gets rounded up, and every penny rounded up goes to either Code of Vets or Folds of Honor, your choice. Every penny. OldGloryBank.com. They stand with veterans. They stand with you. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Terms and conditions apply. OldGloryBank.com. It really is my bank, and it's a great bank. Hello and welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across America. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, really am delighted to have you. And we need to talk about some of the insanity that's going on out there. One of the things you pick up on very quickly when you are on TV a lot, as I was a contributor at CNN for a number of years, and then at Fox News for 5 years, as I was getting my start in talk radio, and then guest hosting for Rush Limbaugh, and now on my show, and then even before being on TV and radio, running redstate.com for a number of years. It becomes very obvious that because the media and the Democrats are in the same bubble, the media fails to pick up on a lot of issues within the Democratic Party, fails to hold them accountable when those issues are picked up, and spends an inordinate amount of time on problems in the GOP, the insanity of the GOP, the crack up of the GOP, the civil war of the GOP, all these things you hear about in the media. They never want to pick up on in the Democratic Party. And it's like when it really breaks into the open, it's like, oh, I'm so surprised. Well, not if you've been paying attention. And one of those issues, a big issue, is that the Democrats, the progressive wing of the Democratic Party, is losing its mind. It is going insane. It is defining insanity as sane and sanity as insanity. It is defining deviancy as normal and normal as deviant. And it's not hard to pick up on. Let me give you a public policy example here. The United States of America, according to Joe Biden tonight in his State of the Union, he's going to order the United States military to go to Gaza to build a temporary harbor and port so that we can more easily distribute humanitarian supplies to Gaza. He wants the American military to build a temporary oceanside port in Gaza to deliver humanitarian supplies, and yet will not ask the American military to secure the American border. It's kind of insane that the president will have the American military take care of Palestinians who are backing a bunch of terrorists and not send them to the border to secure our border. But the Democrats see nothing wrong with that. They see no contradiction in it. It's just truly insane. But it doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop there. There was a conference. Where is this? A conference someone flagged this week. It looks like it was someone at a TEDx talk. Here's the headline. Scholars say pedophilia is now a sexual orientation that should be accepted by members of society. This is progressive scholars, social scientists say pedophilia it's a sexual orientation. It's not same-sex attraction, it's attraction to kids. And it's just a sexual orientation, and we should allow it. The left has lost its mind. And very few Democrats will push back against this. They'll say, but Joe Biden doesn't support it. Well, a growing voice of the Democratic Party does. In the last couple of days while I was out, I actually thought it was a joke. I really, truly, genuinely, I honestly thought it was a joke, and it turned out not to be. The Department of Veterans Affairs and an assistant secretary or deputy secretary of the Department of Veterans Affairs sent out a memo. You know the famous picture of the man in the naval uniform who kisses the woman in Times Square? It's been turned into a statue. It's a very famous picture. The end of the war, the man just grabs this woman and bends her over and kisses her. And it turns out they were not in a relationship. The woman was one time found and said it was completely unexpected. The man did this. She didn't consent. He just kissed her. It's an iconic photo of people's reaction to the war being over, the immediate enthusiasm of it. It's been turned into a statue, and that picture has for years been used iconically by the Department of Veterans Affairs and even the Department of Defense. And this deputy secretary of Veterans Affairs sent out a memo and said they will no longer use this picture because in the age of Me Too and consent, this was not a consensual act, but it was a sexual assault. And how dare we use this picture? This is an iconic picture. And it's one where even the woman who said, you know, I didn't know the guy. It was unsolicited. She didn't feel like she was sexually assaulted. She understood that it was a moment in time captured by this photographer and this enthusiasm. The war was over. World War II was at an end. Rationing would come to an end. The boys would come home. Everybody was excited, and this happens. The Secretary of Veterans Affairs had to overrule his deputy secretary. And it only happened after, I think it was Libs of TikTok exposed the insanity of it. They lost their minds. I was told yesterday, the University of Virginia, several groups have been starting meetings, faculty and administrative groups, not student groups, faculty and administrative groups, where they start their meeting by acknowledging that the meeting has taken place on stolen land. There is not a inch of land on planet Earth that has not been conquered multiple times. The British conquered North America fair and square. The Americans conquered the rest of North America fair and square. I happen to be a Native American. I was born in Louisiana, and I can say that we conquered it fair and square. There's no need to apologize for being on stolen land. You know who the Indians took it from? Other Indians. There's no such thing as pristine, pure land, but this woke nonsense from critical theory that that white people are all colonizers and everyone else is the colonized oppressed and we should apologize to them. No, I'm not apologizing for the United States taking other people's land because those people took it from someone else. We just happen to take it and hold on to it because we were better than them. More advanced, more civilized? Yes. Were we ruthless? Yes, we were, deservedly so. As if the Indians that we took the land from were somehow peace-loving people. You know what people? You know which group were scalping? It wasn't the Americans. This morning, I flew back from Washington, D.C. with my son from the class trip. All the other kids are on a bus. Ha ha! Ha ha, suckers! We flew home. Couldn't get to my office in Atlanta. People have tied themselves up and glued themselves to the road to protest a police training facility. They were blocking traffic all morning in Atlanta. They've done it in New York. You know, in Washington, D.C., we were supposed to go see the National Archives. We were going to see the Constitution, Declaration of Independence, Bill of Rights. A bunch of protesters went in last week and threw pink cornstarch and something else on it. It's trying to be turning into sludge if they got water on it. They had to clean it very specifically, very carefully, so that they couldn't use liquids to clean this stuff. Progressives did that, not Republicans. It was progressives who did that. It's progressives who were trying to tie up traffic. In Athens, Georgia, let me read you this. Melissa Link, by the way, somebody, I exposed that wackadoo progressive on the Athens Clarke County Commission who uses they, them pronouns and lives with his spouse and partner and has a kid and never had a real job in his life, but he wants to be a they, not a he. Someone filed a invasion of privacy claim with YouTube to make me take that video down. I haven't taken it down. YouTube hasn't made me take it down. But when I highlighted that guy, several people said, oh, there's this commissioner, Melissa Link. She's actually worse. Let me read you this statement from Melissa Link. This is what she said at an Athens Clarke County Commission meeting. She said, I'm disgusted by the crime as I am the hysterical glee with which so many have seized upon this tragedy to promote division, bigotry, and hate. This tragedy offers yet another reminder that monsters are real and they come in all shapes and sizes. With terrifying regularity, they come in the form of white men with weapons of war, fueled by mental illness, bigotry, and right-wing conspiracy theories who slaughter classrooms full of schoolchildren, congregants in churches, temples and mosques, hapless shoppers, and revelers at concerts, nightclubs, festivals, and parade routes. Mass murders have become so routine, they are only met with thoughts and prayers from cowardly Republican legislators, governors, and judges. Blah, 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 blah. We live in a violent patriarchal society in which even our bodies are not our own, a society in which desperate mothers are sent home from emergency rooms to suffer unassisted miscarriages as they bleed out of the bathroom floors, and raped little girls are forced to give birth to their stepdaddy's babies, in which at least 2 of our Supreme Court justices have been credibly accused of sexual assault, and at least 3 were appointed by a traitorous, insurrectionist, bigoted, lying, cheating, fraudulent, philandering rapist. I call upon those who are overcome by Laken Riley's death to channel their outrage towards protecting the living. That's right. She's trying to turn the tables on everyone upset about Laken Riley and say, you bigoted people elected Donald Trump, so screw you for being upset about this girl being murdered by an illegal alien. She stands on the illegal alien side. These progressives have lost their minds. You got the boys and girls sports. It's come up again. There's a video that's come out today of a school teacher somewhere in this country who I think in Michigan, who is a man who wears tight dresses in school so that the kids can actually see the bulge. Y'all, progressives have lost their minds. And in certain parts of the country, they are protected and voters regularly put them in power. But there is going to be a backlash coming. There will be consequences for the drag queens. There will be consequences for normalizing pedophilia. You know, it's gotten so bad. North Face wants you to sign some sort of pledge about being outdoors and in the process acknowledge the racism of white people taking over the outdoors. It's ludicrous. It's insanity. Yeah, here it is. North Face offers customers a discount for taking an equity course, and the equity course says the outdoors is racist and you can't be racist against white people. Black people can't enjoy the outdoors because of white people, according to North Face, if you take an equity course that gives you a discount. People have lost their minds. Companies have lost their minds. Bank of America, by the way, I think I just read it was Bank of America that's getting rid of its DEI coordinator. More and more companies are realizing that they have been fostering insanity. More and more Americans realize the left has lost its mind. Yep, Bank of America is firing its chief diversity and inclusion officer. Good. The DEI backlash is good. There's going to be a backlash against the people on the left who would mainstream and normalize pedophilia. You know, the voters are actually going to hold this stuff accountable. It's not just the economy. It's voters look at this and they say, you guys say that Donald Trump's an authoritarian, but you're the ones letting illegal aliens to come in here and kill college kids. You're not making us safe. You're not keeping us safe. Donald Trump will keep us safe. We didn't have these problems when he was president. People, at the end of the day, they're willing to trade their liberty for safety. They are. And they're going to trade it, whether you like it or not, for Donald Trump. And by the way, they're not going to be trading a whole lot of liberty because he's not the monster the Democrats say he is. The monsters are in the Democratic Party chanting death to the Jews right now. And the president of the United States can't condemn it without also saying, well, and we got to worry about Islamophobia and every other phobia out there. The voters are going to have a backlash against this insanity. And it is insanity. And it's not coming from the GOP. It's coming from the Democrats. And you don't hear about it regularly in the press because they're in on it and a part of the problem. Now, I got to move on. But before I do, I got to tell you about Stamps.com. They saved me last week. Stamps.com did. Because I was able to ship through UPS and then I was able to go in and reroute shipping when it didn't work out the way I wanted. Stamps.com, they've got a great interface. They've got great shipping options. They save you up to 89% off UPS and post office rates. All you have to do is go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone, and put in my name, Eric, E-R-I-C-K. Go to Stamps.com, click on the mic, put in Eric. You'll get a limited time offer of some free postage, free digital scale. You have no long-term commitment. You have no contract. Stamps.com, they make it easy to ship. Listen, for businesses or for individuals, and you can cancel at any time. But if you got a little Etsy shop or something, it makes it very easy for you to send stuff. You can print out the labels. You can order the shipping supplies from Stamps.com. They have great rates. You can even arrange pickup at your home or office. You never have to stand in the line again at the post office or UPS if you use Stamps.com. Stamps.com. Click on the microphone. Put in my name, Eric, E-R-I-C-K. Get that free digital scale. Get some free postage. Start saving and shipping today with Stamps.com. Hello and welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. My goodness, am I delighted to have you, and I'm so glad to be home. Y'all, if I stayed another couple of days in D.C. with the 31 9th and 10th graders, I was going to just embrace alcoholism. We had a good time, but my gosh, and you know, I feel bad for the real chaperones because I was not technically a real chaperone. I had my kid. We stayed at a different hotel. I have to, with security issues, traveling and stuff. My employers are very particular about where I stay and don't stay. And so we stayed at a different hotel, and it was great. We got to come and go as we wanted. We could hop on the bus. They had a great tour guide. They really did. And I felt bad for the kids because their bus broke down and they were way late getting to D.C., but we packed in Tuesday and Wednesday. I mean, we did on Tuesday, we did stop at the White House. We met them at the White House. Then we went to the Iwo Jima Memorial. Then we went to Arlington. We're there for a very long time walking around Arlington. They laid a wreath at the Tomb of the Unknowns. Then we went to grab some lunch real quick. Then we went to Ford's Theater. After Ford's Theater, we went to the American History Museum and the Natural History Museum. And then on Wednesday, we started at the Air and Space Museum. Then we went to the Capitol. The speakers staff gave them a behind-the-scenes tour. They were able to go places that no one else is allowed to go. They had a ton of fun. Got on the speaker's balcony, took a picture with Speaker Johnson. Then we went to the Holocaust Museum. Then they went to the National Archives, and they went bowling. Now, my kid and I sneaked out, and I got to tell you, the Uber drivers all said, and the people at the hotel said, and the people in the speaker's office said, the Museum of the Bible is the coolest museum in the city. And I have to tell you, they're right. If you ever go to Washington, D.C., you need to go to the Museum of the Bible. It is not a museum for like Christians and evangelicals. It is a very well-done museum with a first edition King James Bible. They have actual authentic real scrolls of Hammurabi and of Nebuchadnezzar. My mind was blown. It's an archaeological museum extravaganza. It's so well done, the Museum of the Bible. It's not one of the Smithsonian's, obviously. You got to pay to get in, but it is incredible. They are so well done. Of course, the exits to the gift shop, of course. I got to tell you guys, I've been missing my pizza oven, and I'm going to grill Omaha steaks in it. I got a little grill rack to put in the pizza oven. I want to be able to sear my steaks in it, and I'm going to do this with Omaha Steaks maybe for this weekend. OmahaSteaks.com. If you go right now, use my name, Eric, as your promo code at checkout, you get an extra $30 off. It's already unbelievable savings at Omaha Steaks. It's OmahaSteaks.com. At checkout, you see a promo code box. You put in Eric, E-R-I-C-K. You get $30 extra off. Minimum order required. It is unbelievable savings right now, 50% off site-wide. You get seafood, you get steaks, you get poultry, you get pork, you get ready-made main courses, you get ready-made sides and desserts. Don't forget the caramel apple tartlets. My wife would insist. Y'all, you can order your main courses, have them in the freezer, and before your kids even ask you what's for supper, you can pop them in the oven, get them going, and you have supper ready thanks to Omaha Steaks. It's a great deal, and 50% off site-wide right now. And then at checkout, use my name, Eric, as your promo code. You get an extra $30 off. It's such great savings at OmahaSteaks.com. OmahaSteaks.com. Go right now. You can thank me later. It's delicious.